Hey guys, my name is Shashank Kalanathi. I'm a data analyst, and on this channel, I teach you how to break into the world of analytics, whether that be data science, engineering, or data analyst, or a BI person. Today, we're going to be talking about the new IDE from JetBrains called DataSpell. For the first minute or so of the video, I'm going to be talking about what exactly is an IDE and why data scientists and analysts need a different IDE from, say, computer programmers and software engineers. And then after that, we'll get into the specifics of this IDE. So if you already know what IDEs are and what the significances of a data science-based one are, then feel free to skip to about a minute after right now. So what is an IDE? So Codecademy has a great definition for one. It stands for Integrated Development Environment, and it enables programmers to consolidate different aspects of writing a computer program into like one application, one interface. So it allows you to easily go into different files, different code files that may be in different languages. It has a syntax highlighting, code highlighting. So for example, in Python, like all the normal Python functions will be highlighted as they should be. You can collapse functions into one another. Basically, it takes coding from being this, from kind of like the Word document, and adds all of this color and all of this separation that makes it easier for you to program. Now, why do data scientists and analysts need a different IDE from software developers and computer programmers? Well, a lot of that just goes to the different ways that data analysts and scientists use programming versus people who work in software and people who work in software. Usually analysts and scientists will work in a couple of libraries in one language. So for example, like within Python, they'll be working in pandas, they'll be working in scikit-learn, which is a machine learning library, TensorFlow, which is a neural network library, versus software engineers will usually be using like a lot of the base functions inside a language, and will be like creating classes and stuff a lot, where, for example, I've almost never created a class just because I've almost never needed one for my analytical work. And data scientists and analysts will also be working in things called notebooks, which are basically an integration of prose, so markdown, so like written out text, pictures, tables, and code. That way you can present your findings to people in a clean manner that they can easily understand. Software engineers typically are not using these things. So that's why JetBrains decided to come out with their IDE, DataSpell. So they actually came up with, they're the ones that made PyCharm, if you're not familiar, which is a very popular IDE used by a lot of people in the industry. So should you use DataSpell, or should you use, if you already use them, the professional version of PyCharm? They recommend using PyCharm Professional Edition if you do software development and not just data science. So for example, at my company, I'm working on a machine learning platform. So for me, actually, PyCharm Professional Edition might be more useful than JetBrains DataSpell, which is specifically geared towards data science. For anyone curious, I currently use VS Code as my IDE of choice. One thing you should know about DataSpell is that I believe you have to buy it, and it costs about, for an individual, $89 per year. So I personally will probably not be using it after this video because I just use VS Code and it does everything I need it to do. But I mean, who knows? Maybe if this video does well enough, they'll go ahead and sponsor me, and then I'll have a free copy of DataSpell that I'll be using. So how am I going to show you guys the functionality of this IDE? So instead of writing all my own code, I decided to just go into Kaggle, which is a really popular website for data science competitions where very, very talented people will post entire notebooks full of machine learning algorithms, EDA, exploratory data analysis, and everything in an easy to read format. And usually you can just use the available the available editor on the webpage, but today we'll be using DataSpell. So we're going to be using this one by this guy Hamza. URL over here if you want to check it out. All right, so I already went ahead and installed DataSpell. So let's go ahead and launch it. I was about to launch the exe file for some reason. All right, preparing workspace. Cool. So it looks like it opened up to where I wanted it to. And they talk about a couple of features that I really want to look into. They talk about the interactive outputs. So one really common thing you'll have in a Jupyter notebook is you'll have a data frame, which is just another word for a table, that you'll want to interact with. I will say one problem I've had with DataSpell is that my laptop fans just go max tilt every once in a while whenever I do something on it. I'm guessing that's something that'll be dealt with whenever this is version 1.0 as they like release bug fixes and optimizations for it. But I will say that's not something that happens on VS Code for me. So Hamza looks like, the reason I picked this notebook is because he imported a solid number of great libraries. So I'm going to go ahead and use Conda and install everything that I need to install. So let's go ahead and go to interpreter settings down here. And then I want to install a couple of things. So I need to install, so let's see. I will need to move this to the side. That way I can physically see what I need to install. I'll need to install pandas, for example. And you may not be able to hear it. I'm not sure if you can hear it in the video or not, but the fans are spinning quite loudly right now for what should be a fairly simple operation. So this video is kind of like a review and an overview of this IDE. So let's go ahead and install that package. Let's see, sklearn. All right, so, okay, there we go. So whenever I open up, so it looks like when the IDE is in the background, it doesn't seem to update your file list over here, but when you put it back to the foreground, it updates. And I'm guessing they'll just fix that in an update. So let's go ahead and extract this file. All right, so we have our data here, so let's go ahead and import it. So I'll remove all of this. Oh, cool, that's spell checking too. Because I think you spelled continuous wrong. All right. And then let's see what happens when we do this. Cool, so it, yeah, shows the tables, needs to use format. Oh, cool, I can sort these tables too, but can I filter them? Okay, not yet. Clear output. Okay, cool, cool. Open a new tab. Okay, and when I do that, can I do anything to it? Okay, so it looks like I can't really filter it, but I guess I could. Can I save this as a CSV? I can. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So far I'm not seeing anything I can't do in my VS Code, or sorry, yeah, VS Code notebooks, but you know, let's keep at it. Let's see what happens. Okay. The problem is that I don't know when I've run, I can't tell when I've run something. That's the only problem. So how about this? Well, okay, let's see. So we ran this test.info. So we're getting our, so we've imported our CSVs. We've got an info on our training test set. And then we're trying to see how many null values are in our training and our testing set. Definitely something you want to check because a lot of machine learning algorithms don't work very well if you don't have, or if you have null values. Okay, so it looks like this smiley face is not being rendered properly. I'm not sure if, you know, how about this? Let's open this up in Visual Studio Code as well. That way we can see if this works any better over there. All right, so this is Visual Studio Code. Don't need that for now. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like that emoji is rendered correctly in Visual Studio Code. So that might be something to for them to work on. Again, remember, this is a version 1.0. So if like, you know, not everything is here from day one, then it's not a big deal. That being said, if they're charging 89 bucks for it, hopefully these things get fixed pretty quickly. And then let's go ahead and see how the describe function seems to work just fine. Can I copy individual values? Okay, and then let's say I want to create a new cell. So add a, well, I didn't want to add a code, so I want to add a markdown cell. Okay, cool, cool. That's easy enough to use. And let's say I want to delete a cell. Okay, easy as that. So relatively simple to do. We're doing the same thing with our, we're going to describe our test continuous features. And then let's go ahead and plot the continuous features. Let's see how it does with rendering our graphs. So I'm guessing, okay, it's, yeah, that bar is there, so for whenever it's running. I wish they would make this bar a different color. That way it just like popped a little bit more. Like in this color, it's kind of hard to tell. Maybe if I change the theme, then it'll work a little bit better. So it looks like he's just performing some basic exploratory data analysis over here. And now we're going to plot out our continuous features. Again, he spelled continuous incorrectly, it looks like. So he's creating subplots 2x5. And for every feature in the continuous features, create a histogram, basically. Okay, this is a good, I mean, this is your basic EDA over here. Definitely, this guy knows what he's doing over here. And then he's going to show the plots. Let's see how this gets rendered. I'm just curious, does it work faster in... let's see, we need to use minimal DS. Let's see how fast I can get this stuff plotted, because this one seems to be taking a little while to do, but there's also a lot of data to work with. So in VS Code, I know I've like run something whenever there's like a check mark. So you see how these like are empty brackets over here? When there's a green check mark, you know you've run a code cell. So like, for example, there's a check mark over here. So I know I've run that code cell. So this imported the data very quickly, but it could also just be an issue of me trying to use use the same environment twice in a row. And you see this blue bar over here on VS Code makes it like, it pops a little bit more, so it's a bit easier to use. And you know what, why don't we just run these things side by side? Why not? So this video is a little bit rushed because I do want to kind of get it out there as version 1.0 of this IDE is still new. Oh, and then a timer would be nice too. So you see the little timer over here that shows like how long this code cell's been executing. So I guess let's wait and see how long it takes to execute. All right, so it looks like training that actually would take a little bit of time. So I decided to call it quits. Hopefully, okay, I didn't think that would work. Okay, so at least we had one run through, which is important. And yeah, I mean, it looks like everything's working as expected. Ah, okay, that's an image. Okay, cool. So it renders images just fine too, which is good. Again, it looks like the way it renders them is just a bit blurrier than VS Code. But yeah, it looks like it runs everything, reasonably well. Would I personally use it? Probably not, at least not yet. Let's wait for them to iron out a couple of the bugs. Some of the emojis weren't working. It seems to be slightly slower than VS Code. But that's just a quick overview of DataSpell, the new IDE from JetBrains. Again, solid IDE, but I think I'm probably going to stick with VS Code just because it's what I know, and I haven't seen much of an improvement in this that I would personally use. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you guys have a great day.